Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to this public hearing for the fiscal year 2013-2014 budget. The time is 6:50 p.m., date April 22nd, 2013. Roll call.
Angay?
Here.
Lane?
Here.
Thorndike? Here. Sullivan?
Here.
Sidema? Here. Wood?
Here.
Rose?
Here.
Conley?
Here.
Do we have everyone in attendance? If you could stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The purpose of this hearing is to receive public comments on the fiscal year 2013-2014 budget. Harvey Zeidema, you're up first.
Thank you, Mayor. Page 16 of the budget. Oh yeah, I'm pretty loud as it is, you know. Page 16 of the budget, field groomer. On this year, we paid $10,500 for that groomer, but I think we had about $7,000-8,000 that was supposed to be paid on next year's budget. And I see we have allotted 000 for that. I'm wondering where that money's coming from, or where we're gonna get that money. It may be coming out of the equipment, parks and recreation, $11,750, but I think it should, I don't really think you should show it that way. I think it should show that you're paying the rest of that money off on next year's budget. Next year, you're gonna look at park and recreation and equipment, you're gonna see $11,750, and you're gonna wanna spend that again. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. Next we have Marty.
At our budget meeting down at the library, I asked a lot of questions and was told that the administrator would get back to me, and I never heard from him. And when I asked for the answers, he said, "Oh, well, you have to email them to me." Well, I thought he was taking notes to answer the questions I had, but I sent a whole sheet of questions today and never heard back from him either. I heard from Everett, which was amazing because he's not even working for the city yet. And I sent it all one at a time to each of the aldermen to see if they had any questions similar to mine. I wasn't aware that we had any projects for Meadowbrook Drive Road Project or Scenic Road Project. I'd like to know more on these before we vote. Not sure if the $120,000 will be enough for French Creek Park extension. I'm not sure the length of that. Market Street parking lot, we already received 25% of that amount. So is those changes made in our budget? And what are the completion dates on any of these projects? Is there any way we can find a way to pay for street lighting other than from our motor fuel tax? And is this for our entire city or just for Main Street? Parks and recreation, I see we have $8,750 for utilities. Are we going to look at alternative ways to save money on this? Maybe close the park during the off-season, or change the plumbing system and the constant pressure system so that we can shut it off, and or maybe even get an estimate what that would cost. And maintenance service for the ground. We were told this would drop since ball diamonds were maturing, but it went up. And I don't know how our expenditures dropped from 397, 275,000 down to 210,350 for parks and recreation. streets, we have engineering for $10,000. If we're doing several projects, is that enough? And the community room maintenance is $1,000. We need to address the breaker box situation that it's located in the library portion of the building, so when the library is closed and someone rents the building, there's no access. And our utility tax is only $165,000. Last year, it looked like proposed was $209,660. Don't know what the difference is there. And miscellaneous income of $325,000. I'd like to know what's going in there because our auditors recommend that any income or expense over $1,000 should have its own line item for budget for better clarification. And when you do the salary aggregation, is all department salaries totaled on that, or is it separate? I'm not sure how that works. And the revenues are up $587,225,000, and expenses are up $444,883. Where do these figures come from, and where some of the expenses, including a building inspector, and where is that coming from? And I kind of would like to have seen ending or beginning balance, however you want to word it. I thought we were going to get that, and for the general fund at least, what the projected ending balance for this year or the beginning balance for this year would be, depending on how you're looking at it.
Thank you, Marty. Next is Nancy Anderson.
Well, I spent a great deal of time the last few days looking at this budget. And I've taught school for 43 years, much but not for education, advanced math. And I call this the best thing as an example of a shell game, and that you cannot follow through on anything. And my request basically is this, that I look at the beginning, page 1 and 2, and try to understand this, because this is so important to everybody. The motor fuel tax for a revenue for this year was $115,288 for 12/13. Anticipated it'll go to $432,000 plus. From $115,000 plus to $432,000 plus for revenue is quite a jump. Then you go to the expenditures for the motor fuel tax, and then for 12/13, for expenditures is $145,000. For the year 13-14 projections, $640,000 plus. Those are huge numbers. They're huge different. When you go back to the beginning of the dialogue, what was here is from the years 2005 and 6. I looked at all the numbers across the board. You have this big jump at 9 and 10, and then you come to this year, 12-13 to 14. Big jumps. So a lot of times I wonder what happened. Then you go to the page referring to the community room. Again, this is put into the a general fund, one of our general fund expenses. And the point was, it used to make $12,000 a year. Now we're making $4,500 a year. The reason why is that? A room that was added onto the library, given to the citizens because it's theirs. And we've gone backwards in revenue. Why? Because we're not using it. Why? Because it's in poor repair. Why? Because that's the way the budget was set up. Then you go to the part about parks and recreation, you try to follow through that. I keep looking for sports complex, and the fact that in March it had a $186,000 deficit. In March it had a $177,000 deficit. Trying to figure that out. I can't find it anywhere or understand it. I would ask our new mayor that's coming on board shortly, Mr. Pannier, and the new council, and for those of you who are going to be retained, to please try to develop a format for the next budget that you start very early and work with a budget that you can read and understand. This is really crucial to everybody. They're always hard. They're always complicated. But you need to have everybody understand it, not just the person who writes it, not just the city administrator. It needs to be by all 8 of you and the mayor and everybody involved in this policy. So my recommendation is, please take your time. Don't just vote on it because you're down to a deadline. Give yourself time next time. And try to make it so it's feasible to understand.
Thank you, Nancy. Sir, you were the late attendee. Did you want to offer any comments or not?
Pardon me?
Yes.
I have no comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we move on to written statements. Has anybody received any written statements regarding the budget? Any council members? Any staff? Okay, we've received verbal statements. We have no written statements that I'm aware of. So we will close this public hearing at this time.